Yeah, each of these situations can be a little bit different. Construction, for example, is an ongoing risk that we face with infection prevention and control, especially in hospitals, but definitely in all healthcare facilities. And it requires us to conduct what we call the ICRA, the Infection Control Risk Assessment. This is a process that's really governed by our colleagues over in ASHRAE that has a really lot of nuanced approaches to making sure that we mitigate as many of the risk associated with potential transmission. One of those things is looking at airborne transmission, especially of biologicals. So if I've got, ceiling tiles, for example, that are being brought down, I need to make sure I've got barriers in place, that I've got HEPA filtration going. And so the portability of the Illuvia Sense is something that can really be used on both sides of that barrier to reduce the risk, not only inside the actual construction area, but more importantly in the outside, so that visitors, patients, staff, and other people that might be in the facility are not impacted, right, by either biological or chemical threats associated with that. For our colleagues in areas that are really prone to things like wildfires, like in California, the ability to get fresh air into the facility can be a challenge. And so our goal is to not only look at environmental smoke that might be coming from the outside, but also to look at things like surgical smoke, right? What can we do to mitigate that? And having multiple modalities of air purification, things like the HEPA, UV, certainly in the photolytic chamber, can be quite helpful in mitigating the impact of those environmental toxins. And I think lastly is, outbreaks as referenced, these pandemics, outbreaks, and sort of, infection control risk are always something that are top of mind for me. How do I make sure that I'm ready for what might be coming through that door of that emergency department, or frankly may start out in an outpatient setting and then be brought over to the hospital? This is something that we can never afford to take our foot off the gas for. We always have to have that state of continuous readiness. And so continuous air disinfection and portability allows us to be ready, whether it's construction, some type of environmental risk like an environmental wildfire, or sadly, some type of unexpected outbreak or pandemic.